I bet you'd never expected a real estate agent to come and tell you that do not buy a house in 2024 because you may regret it. Well, I am that real estate agent that maybe goes against everybody else, but in today's video, I'm going to tell you a couple of reasons why you may not want to buy a house right now, and if you do, you may regret it. So let's dive right in.
A restrictive stance of monetary policy has been putting downward pressure on economic activity and inflation, and the risks to achieving our employment and inflation goals have moved toward better balance over the past year.
So thank you very much for coming to my channel today. So I am kind of like been thinking about everything that is going on. So I want to talk about different things that are right now. So let's start with some of the reality of the market, and let's do a market checkup. So the lack of inventory is really making a lot of people kind of like rethink their strategy. And not only that, but because what it's happening is there's many people looking to buy a house. Prices are now, the demand is much higher than the supply, and that is causing prices to go up. Nothing new here to understand, but the reality is that I think this shortage of supply may continue to be the same way for maybe another year to 2 years. It all depends on the different things that the government, the local institutions, and builders can do. The reality is that if you have a house already and you have a mortgage below 4%, there is no incentive for you to put your house on the market. And you are holding that inventory right now for somebody that is actually willing to come and buy a house. So with that in mind, and the many people that can buy a house right now, then that just adds a lot of pressure. And let's be honest, a lot of these people that are also buying homes, maybe they bought their houses 10 plus years ago, so they're really sitting on a tons of equity that they can use to go and buy a house, if it sometimes can be even cash. So how can you compete with that if you are a first-time home buyer, you're a move-up buyer? It's really hard to compete with those things. Now, as we continue to look into the inventory issues, you also have all kinds of problems right now when it comes to waiving inspections, waiving appraisals, and so that you want to make these deals sweet for somebody else. I recently had the opportunity to speak with someone that is interested in working with me, and he was just sharing with me how one of his friends' colleagues bought a property, had enough money to buy the house, overpaid for the property, and that's the reality, the right term, and then now he is stuck with a roof, a $25,000 roof replacement that he doesn't have the money. Now, can he go and put it on a credit card? Probably he can do it, but those interest rates are gonna eat this person alive. Can he try to find a company that will give him some like 12-month financing? Probably he can do those things. Can he pull out some money out of the equity that he may have? Maybe he has other options, but the reality that liquid cash right now for some people that bought homes in the last 24 months, maybe they don't have as much cash as they need, especially for these repairs. So if you really are gonna be, you may see a wave of people that need to sell houses that are not able to be repaired because they don't have the money, they just don't have the cash. So we just gotta be very mindful of these things that are coming this way. Now, there's another concern, right? We have a lot of mortgage concern, the mortgage rates. So recently the Federal Reserve just had a meeting and they decided not to change the rates. They want to keep the rates the same way, which is in a way it's nice. Their hope was that there will be 2-3 cuts of interest rates this year, but none of those things are taking place because inflation is so stubborn that the Federal Reserve feels like it has been going up and up and up. And let's just be honest, summertime is around the corner, so people are going to be traveling more, people are going to be using more gasoline, people are going to be going out more to restaurants, vacation time. So a lot of these things are going to take place, which are going to most likely make it very difficult for the Federal Reserve to reduce interest rates. Maybe in the fall we may see 1 or 2 cuts, maybe. But I think that for now, I don't think we're going to see that. And the reality is, for these cuts to take place, the job market has to provide really bad numbers. And as we know recently, the job market is not in bad shape. The job market is actually in really good shape. Now, you'll find people here and there. I recently came across somebody on social media. I don't know this person, but he says that it's in $200,000 in the student debt loans and graduated like 8 or 10 years ago and hasn't been able to find a steady job. So you also got a lot of these things. So we'll see that data is still, it's a little bit of an issue. Now, if refinances, sometimes people say like, well, I want to refinance my house. well, refinances are not something that are going to be doable. I think right now, average mortgage could potentially hit 8%. Pretty soon. I think we are in about 7.5, 7.75. 8% it's really not that far from where we are. I don't think we've seen these mortgages being that high in for at least 12 months, and we can potentially get to that level. So it's going to be very important to understand and analyze why a lot of these things, you have to take all these things in consideration. Just don't buy because you need to buy. Come to the conclusion that you need to buy a house right now. The more down payment that you have, the better it is. But if you are really just barely making it and you want to buy a house, you may need to rethink your strategy, and I'll give you some tips about that. Now, there is a concern that people have, and it is this market, it's a bubble, right? I don't know if a bubble is the right thing, because there is nothing that tells me that can be burst, but nothing it's impossible in this kind of industry. But I think there is a risk of people feeling like they are really overpaying for their properties. They're just really paying too much for houses. And the reality is this house in this neighborhood came at $450,000, sold for $500,000. So the next seller in the same neighborhood be like, well, maybe I should ask $5.25 for my house, maybe sells for $550,000. And you see how that whole thing, eventually this is not sustainable. There is so much pressure on those things that it's not going to be sustainable. And some buyers will probably choose just to completely voluntarily get out of the market because it does not work for them to be in this kind of environment. So you got to be very careful with the prices. There is definitely, it's a risk you can take. A lot of people say, well, Robert, we feel like the peak of the market, it's right here. It could be, nobody knows. Some people thought the peak of the market was last year, and look at where things are right now. Here in the area where I do business in Montgomery County, Maryland, I have seen homes to sell for 10, 20, up to 30% above asking price. I will say the average is between 5 and 10% right now. It's a given that houses are selling above that. Now, let me ask you this. Has your salary gone up 5 to 10% in the last 2 years, right? Maybe it hasn't, or 20 or 30%. Is your salary keeping up with the rate of inflation? I doubt it that you are doing those things. So for a lot of these many things that are moving, this can potentially create a tornado of events in the industry that nobody has any control right now. So there's another thing here that may affect this, and this is the recent regulations from the National Association of Realtors that, again, nobody has control of how it's going to be. And basically what it says is that we are decoupling the way the real estate agent has been doing. A seller pays a seller agent and a buyer pays a buyer agent. But that is only applies when a buyer has the capacity to purchase a house, has enough down payment, and has the capacity to go ahead and hire an agent. But if you are overpaying for your property, you have high interest rates, you are waiving home inspections and appraisals, so you have to take these things into consideration. So for you now to have to come up with extra cash to pay for the commission of your buyer agent, maybe it's not what you want to be doing. So you really need to think about it. And recently, Zillow came out with an agreement that basically what it does is it gives you an agent that will show you houses. Nothing wrong with it, but I think, I'm not an expert, I'm not an attorney, but I think that agreement may not be valid because it doesn't really spell out the compensation process. But we'll still, it's brand new. It's just something that nobody knows how that's going to play out. So stay tuned for more. I'll probably have another video on those things that will come over. But for affordability purposes, for affordable housing, for families that are necessarily not wealthy, that don't have all that kind of money, and they have to rely on some government programs, this is a slap on their face by removing these whole things. And even VA loans, where the buyer is not allowed to pay any money towards the purchase of a house, we haven't heard anything from the VA office of how that's going to play out. So it's another thing. And you can say, well, Robert, who needs a buyer's agent? Nobody needs a buyer's agent. Probably you can buy a house without a buyer's agent. Here is the risk you run. You're going to be working with a listing agent, and the listing agent, technically speaking, represents the seller, not the buyer. So guess whose pockets he's interested in filling up with more money? Is the seller's pockets, not the pockets of the buyer. It is the seller's pockets. So you gotta be very careful when you think like you can get a better deal working with the listing agent. It doesn't get a better for you, okay? That's a big lie that you can, working with the listing agent, it's a better deal for you. It does not work that way. So what are your options then? What kind of options do you have right now? So number one, I will say more than ever, concentrate on preparing financially speaking to purchase a house. This is the time where you want to be sit down by yourself or your spouse, your significant other, and look at your budget, look at the numbers, look at the things you're spending money that you need. Maybe you have three, subscriptions to applications to watch TV. Maybe you don't need the three of them. Maybe you need two. So the more prepared and the more money you can bring to the table to buy a house, the better it is for your finances. That's very important. So, but if the conditions continue to go, interest rates go this, prices go this way, you cannot do home inspections, you cannot do appraisals, and the market goes into stagflation, then you can probably might want to just continue to rent or find some other alternatives. Now, there are some ways sometimes when you buy these type of properties with the FHA loans where there are like 4 units in the same building, a structure, you occupy one and the other ones become mini apartments, then you can buy this one and then have somebody else pay the rent on those. Yeah, those are other options you can explore if that is something that you wanted to do. The most important thing is try to pay down your debt as much as you can. Try to invest your money the best way you can right now. If you need financial advice, there's plenty of options out there where you can go. Somebody can help you set a budget. Be very strict with the income that you have that for expenses that are not on your budget. That is very important at this point. This is not the time to be just spending money loosely on things that you don't need. This is actually the time to make things different for you, to save more money towards the purchase of a house, because who knows, maybe the market will be more challenging next year than now. If interest rates go down, and I'm going to leave you with this is the last thing, if the Federal Reserve ends up cutting interest rates down the road, house prices will continue to go up. There is enough pressure right now with these interest rates. With lower interest rates, it's just going to get out of control. So either way, the only thing that you can do is prepare yourself. And for whatever happens, the more cash you can bring to the table, the better it is for your finances. So thank you very much for watching this video. Remember, I'm here, Robert Garcia. I'm in the state of Maryland, licensed in DC and Virginia. If you're looking to make a move to this area and you would like to set up a consultation with me, feel free to click on the link below. We can have a video consultation to talk about this. If a video like content like this is something that you're attracted, give it a like, thumbs up, and if there's any value in subscribing, I will appreciate it if you can do that. I will see you on the next video. Have a great day. Bye-bye.